light shine bright. I've been through the pain, I've been through the rain, I've been through the storm, that's me. I learned to survive through all the lies, had to cut some ties with grief. My girl leaving, had my world deleted, 2018 was deep. A year later, my little brother survived gunshots in the streets. We know what's up, their revenge up, that shit sucks. Sometimes it make me feel weak, make me feel weak. 2 months later, my little cousin was murdered. Wasn't even 15, wasn't even 15. Heard from within, no Bible sins, no religion can save me. Doing yoga pose, got my breath on hold, learn to let go mentally. Plant-based eating, I'm that vegan that's not afraid of the beef. Spiritually fit, energy lit, but on my hip is the heat. The year 2020 got my vision clear. I learned discernment, I keep it near. COVID, I'm mostly all focused, all I didn't notice, it was all fear. That same year, I had to shed a tear. Little bro Jay and his homies playing 2K, a little loud, and this crazy old bitch came out and blah, 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 blah. Get down, 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 down. A bullet hit Jay and now he gone. Another mom with her son coming home. That shit ain't right, it's hella wrong. All this pain made nigga hella strong. That's why heal thyself and know thyself and love thyself. In 2016, one of my best friends, Tycoon, he killed himself. I was fucked up, didn't know what to do with self. That moment I knew I had to prove myself, had to learn not to lose myself. Tycoon influenced me through his death, plus multiple wounds from love issues. My heart done felt no weather, I still won't those tears I cried, no fears in my eyes. Shadows near, can't hide. Let your light shine bright. Those tears I cried, no fears in my eyes. Shadows near, can't hide. Let your light shine bright. I'm indoctrinated, influenced by doctors say this. Spiritual grounded, but watch your lady. I'll have her meditating, you a hella hate. I used to be hella faded. This is that well played, self-made. Marijuana, mushroom, meditation, motivation. Leave all that past in the dust, call it cremation. I'm not here just for entertainment, I'm here to plant seeds of greatness. They be like, please, no spirituality for me. I just need them being Franklins. I've been thinking that being Franklin, being taken. The minds of the people, they being Franklin. They being hunted to the streets just to touch them being Franklins. You being Frankenstein, that means they got your mind. Get your ass in line. Particular programs got all the youngins with blood in their hands, so they cuff their hands. Eating prim bread sandwich when they in that gym. I ain't talking about jelly when I talk about jam. I'm talking about a silly weird nigga like them. I don't go in cause I did enough time in that pen. Communicated with the pen as a youngin'. Ryan fam jail letters I didn't like. Had my heart broken by a dope. She put my heart through a Mike Tyson fight. Shed so many tears that lone at night. I'm done arguing about what's wrong or right. Some things get left so your soul get right. Women done made me the villain, surrounded by all the killing. Had me do all the healing to weather the storm to see my potential has no ceiling. Those tears I cried, no fears in my eyes. Shadows near, can't hide. Let your light shine bright. Those tears I cried, no fears in my eyes. Shadows near, can't hide. Let your light shine bright. Through the pain, you have to connect with your membrane to keep from going insane. Do frequency healing, Doctor Strange. Shed those tears to release those fears. Third eye on peers because there's always frenemies near. Question what you see, challenge what you hear. Protect your energy, that GOD has been inside you since you was born in this chaos. Meditation and spiritual exercise to get that demonic energy weight off.
First of all, I think I want to just make sure that everyone listening and watching this understands that grief is not just death. So, grief and loss can be anything from a breakup, a divorce, a loss of a pet, a new job, moving to a new city, anything that causes a change in the relationship that you had before can be considered grief or loss. So I like to um, broaden that definition just so that if someone is watching this or listening says, well, I haven't experienced grief because no one in my immediate family has died, it's a much broader topic than just that. First of all, I think I want to just
Grand rising, grand afternoon, and grand evening, depending on what time of day you are watching Daily Dose of D, aka Goddess D of Love. I hope everyone had a wonderful and safe and prosperous weekend. I know I had me a good time. Let's go ahead and get into it today because this is something that I am taking personally today and applying to myself. So this is going to be one of my ways of releasing. So let's go ahead and start out with the quote of the day. Don't forget today is Maintaining Monday. That's what the theme is over here at the Love Palace. Maintaining Monday. And the quote of the day is, we lose loved ones physically, but remember, energy never dies. It just transfers. By Goddess D of Love. And if you are not aware of what the word of the day, of the word of the day is we're going to talk about grief. And this is the natural emotion response to the loss of someone close, or we're going to go into other details of grief as well. So before we start, there is a trigger warning, and I'm saying that for myself as well, okay? But before we start, I wanted to share y'all a little story, a background of why this is the word of the day. This year, between the months of June and as of last Friday, I had lost and went through other griefs in my life. When it came to actually personally, 4 people have transitioned since June to November. 3 of them were very special to me, and this is as of Friday. So I'm doing this as a form of release for myself, and I can comfort others and give tips to others as well of how to deal with grief. Okay? So let me go ahead and mention this. Did you guys know that there's more to grief than just losing a loved one? We're going to go ahead and tap into that, okay? So our title for today is The Complex Journey of Grief. That's the title for today. So grief is an intrinsic part of the human experience, a natural relationship to the loss of someone or something we deeply value. It manifests in many forms, influenced by cultural and personal and situational factors. While grief is universal, the way each person processes it is profoundly individual, shaped by their unique relationship with the ones or things they may have lost. Grief manifests in various forms, reflecting the diverse ways people respond to loss. Each form of grief carries its own set of emotional, psychological, and physical expressions, influenced by the nature of the loss, personal coping mechanisms, and cultural norms. So, what we're going to discuss over here at the Love Palace is grief manifests in various forms. There's actually 12 primary forms of grief. As I mentioned earlier, people think of grief as just of the loss of a loved one or someone they care for deeply. But there's actually different forms of grief. So we're going to go ahead and tap into that. Let's get into number one. Number one is, excuse me, guys, anticipatory grief. Anticipatory grief. The definition of that: this occurs before an impending loss, often when a loved one is terminally ill and one foresees sufficient life changes. The characteristics of this are: you get feelings of sadness, anxiety, and helplessness arise while you're preparing for that loss. People may begin mourning that person or situation even before it's gone. So an example of that is a family member caring for a loved one that has a illness that could be life-threatening, and they might grieve the loss of this person impending the death, before the death. So they might already start grieving. So what anticipatory grief is when someone is ill, they're still around, but you know that their illness can turn into something that can lead to them, transitioning. And so what you start feeling is the sadness and the anxiety, and you're already thinking that this grief is occurring because you're already thinking that it's happening. So you start feeling sadness, anxiety, and you're preparing yourself for the loss. So that's an example of that type of grief. Let's go on to number two. Oh, sorry, I went to number four. Here we go. Acute grief. Acute grief. This is the immediate and intense reaction following a significant loss. This includes immediate shock, overwhelming sadness, anger, or confusion. Physical symptoms such as fatigue, loss of appetite, or insomnia may also occur. The example of acute grief is the grief is experienced in the weeks after the sudden loss of a loved one. So acute grief, this is right after the loss of something or someone. You get these feelings, you go through the shock, you go through overwhelming sadness or anger or confusion. It even affects you physically, where you feel tired, you may lose the loss appetite, or you might gain appetite, or insomnia may also occur as well. So this is the description of the acute grief. Let's go on to number three. Number three is, it keeps wanting me to go to number four. Must be something there. Okay, so number three, complicated grief, which is prolonged grief disorder. Definition is a form of grief that remains intense and unyielding for an extended period, interfering with daily functioning. The characteristics of this grief is persistent yearning, difficulty in accepting the loss, emotional numbness, or inability to move forward. The example of this is someone who is unable to clear out a deceased loved one's belongings years after passing, finding it unbearable to accept the reality. Y'all, this is, like I said, there's a trigger warning on this because I'm triggered as well, but this is something that I feel I needed to talk about to help my healing. So, with a complicated grief, this is when you're in a state of grief where you really don't want to accept the loss of the person or something, whatever you're losing. And so you become emotionally numb. And then you're not able to move forward in life. And they gave the example as far as if you have lived with someone that is no longer with you, or the loss of something, you don't let it go. It may be hard for you years later, letting go of their belongings or cleaning out a room and just not accepting the reality of the loss. This is what this kind of grief is. So let's go to number 4, because it kept wanting me to go to number 4. So, chronic grief. The definition of this is similar to complicated grief, but is marked by a continuous experience of loss without resolution of healing. So, the things that are happening is going to be ongoing sadness, preoccupation with the deceased, and the lack of adjustment to life's changes. So, example, who experienced this the most? You would see, example would be a widow, decades later, feels the loss as acutely as the day it happened. So, with this chronic grief, this is where you're grieving just like it just happened. You're like the same type of emotional sadness or whatever emotion that you're having with the chronic grief. You're acting like that the very day that you lost something or someone, that emotions and that feeling and that reaction, you have that daily over, and this is over a period of time. This is chronic grief. This is a description of that. So this is an ongoing sadness. Like you're so preoccupied with the loss of this that you don't even adjust to life changes. You're just stuck in that. This is the chronic. So it's almost the same as complicated, but what it is, this is like decades later, long time like you're still in that chronic grief. Okay, let's go to number 5. Number 5 is delayed grief. Okay, y'all, this one's for me. So let me take a deep breath. Okay. This occurs when the individual suppresses their grief and experiences it later, sometimes unexpectedly. Emotional reactions can surface long after the loss, triggered by reminders or other life situations. An example of this: a person might feel profound sadness about losing a loved one years later and is triggered by a similar loss or event. Okay, so this one, the delayed grief, I definitely can resonate with, because this is what Goddess D Love has. And I'm learning to get, that's why I'm having this conversation, because I just lost a very dear friend Friday, and I don't want to have delayed grief anymore. So I'm here expressing this, but I'm used to. So personal experience is I don't usually grieve right away at all. And it does my family, the people that know me well in my family and friends, they'll look at me and they'll be like, you need to release that. I have a delayed grief. Something triggers me, a memory, a thought, a song, something, and then I'll just bust out crying. I have a delayed grief because something triggered me, and it reminds me of the loss of something, because it could be not a person too, which we'll go into, or a person, and I have the delayed grief. And these, like I said, it surface after you're triggered by something. So that's a description of a type of grief as well. Delayed grief. We're going to talk about disenfranchised grief. This grief is not openly acknowledged, socially validated, or publicly mourned. What are these characteristics? It's a feeling of isolation, shame, or guilt due to social judgment or lack of recognition of the loss. What's an example of this? This grief is of someone mourning pet, a loss of an unborn child, or a secret relationship might not receive the same support as other losses. Okay. This disenfranchised grief is something that it's a secret grief, or you don't express it openly, or it's not, you don't want it openly acknowledged or publicly mourned. So this is going to have characteristics of isolation, shame, or guilt. The guilt is due to being judged socially, not the guilt of you having the grief, but you don't want to tell people that you're grieving because you have a fear of being judged, and they won't even acknowledge your loss. So, example, I want to say this to my sister, Empress Sharon. She lost her family dog, and that bothered her. That she had to mourn for that. So sometimes, and Sharon, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just say, people are don't think that's a loss. Our fur animals, our fur babies. Some people are not sympathetic to that. So you can have, not that Empress Sharon has this. I'm just using that as an example. Shout out to Empress Sharon. That type of grief, but because you might feel that you're going to be judged by others, you keep that inside. You don't display that publicly. So that's where the isolation and the shame comes in. Excuse me, y'all. Let me get some water. When you have a loss of, if you're a mother, and you have a loss of an unborn child, you sometimes don't display that as well, and you have this disenfranchised grief because you don't you're sad, and sometimes you're ashamed, or a secret relationship where you might have had a breakup, and it might be not be the norm relationship of society, so you are ashamed to even tell people that you're mourning the loss of that relationship because it's not the quote unquote normal relationship that the world or the society wants you to have. So you have this disenfranchised grief because you feel that you're not going to get support on this loss. These are examples of disenfranchised grief. Let's go on because we got a lot of discussing. I hope you guys stay with me through the whole live. It's gonna be a little lengthy one, but I'm gonna try to keep it as much as I can. Okay, under an hour. Collective grief. What is collective grief? D? Change that. Okay. Grief shared by a community or society, often triggered by large scale tragedies or events. These include a shared sense of mourning, solidarity, and loss. Examples of these: national grief follows a national grief follows a natural disaster, or maybe a terrorist attack, or even death of a public figure. Collective grief. I can resonate with this as well. When I hear of natural disasters or like the hurricanes, the floodings, and um, I once resided in Colorado, and we had so many attacks. We had the Columbine shooting where the young boy went and shot up the school. We had the theater shooting there, and I'm telling you, I had a grief that was, everybody felt the grief. Like those that I was around, the city was grieving. There was a lot of candlelight visuals. You really tapped into the people because plus they publicized and put it in the news so much. So you seen the collective grief, especially when it came to the loss of the children at the Columbine shooting, and as well as the theater. Those people, they would interview them, and you could see that there was a collective grief in the state. So that's number 7. Let's go on to number 8. Number 8 is secondary loss grief. This is grief over indirect losses caused by the primary loss. It's characterized by mourning changes to identity, routine, or relationships that were tied to the lost person or situation. Examples of this: a death of a spouse. One may grieve the loss of their role as a partner or their shared dreams for the future. So, your secondary loss is the indirect loss of losing a person or something, but you lose. So, it gave the example. So, if you have a significant other and you lose them and you're used to having that partner being a wife, husband, etc., you are grieving being that. So you're actually grieving in being in that position. If you are a mother or father that lost a child and you don't have any more children, you mourn or grieve the loss of being a parent. So that's what this secondary loss is. It's the loss of actually having a role or something, that the actual loss of what you lost and the effect of it, how it affects the second part of it. So I hope I explained that as well to you guys. That is secondary loss grief. Number 9, excuse me, ambiguous grief. What is ambiguous grief, D? Grief associated with losses that are unclear or lack closure. So the characteristics of this is you have mixed emotions due to uncertainty about the person's status or circumstances. An example of this would be mourning someone has gone missing or someone with severe dementia, where the person is physically present but emotionally or mentally absent. Ambiguous grief. Whew, this is a tough one for me too. So, this is when you mourn someone, like they said, an example, when someone goes missing. Also, when you lose someone, an example is if you lose someone that was unalived and it's never solved. You never find out who unalived a person that you cared about. Or, as it says, when somebody starts developing dementia, where they're physically present, but their mind and emotions are not there. If you ever have to experience that, that's a different kind of grief. You have that sadness. It's going to be mixed emotions because of that, though, because especially when they do have something like dementia, they're physically there, but their emotion and brain's not there. So I can definitely see how that could be mixed emotions. And also, I've had the experience of mixed emotions when having a loved one unalive and it's an unsolved case, or they never find the person who has done it. That could make you have very, very much mixed emotions. Okay, let's go to number 10 so we can. Cumulative grief. Cumulative grief that results from multiple losses occurring in a short period. Overwhelming sadness and an inability to process each loss individually. Example of this: a person grieving the deaths of multiple family members in a quick succession. So this could be compared to when you lose something or loved ones that's multiple. You can lose your fur babies where they all get sick and you lose them. Example that I had is when I lived in Vegas. One of my friends' whole family, they were in a car and were in a car accident, and they all were unalive, or even cases where there's unaliving of a household situation where it was abusive and they unalive a whole family and their self. This cumulative grief is the is the definition of this. And this is the overwhelming sadness when you have to individually mourn each person. And I could definitely see how that could be difficult. So let's go on to number 11. Number 11 is traumatic grief. Grief arises from a loss that is sudden, violent, or deeply shocked. The characteristics may include symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, such as flashbacks, hypervigilance, or avoidance. An example of this grief: the grief experienced by survivors of accidents, war, or violent crimes. Traumatic grief, guys. Yes, when you suddenly lose someone unexpectedly. Excuse me. A moment. Okay. Yes, unexpectedly. By, like I said, car accidents, even acts of war or violent crimes. This is when there's traumatic grief, when it happens suddenly, which can create PTSD, which is such that makes you have flashbacks, and hypervigilance or avoidance, even avoiding it. The traumatic grief, this is a description of that and an example of the things that you would experience. Number 12, essential grief. Grief tied to the awareness of life importance or the loss of meaning. Profound questioning about life's purposes and mortality. A midlife crisis or grief triggered by a person or global issues. This is a grief. I'm not going to go too much into it, but when you're tired of the awareness, grief tied up to the awareness of life's importance and the loss of meaning of life. This is when you're questioning your life purpose and your mortality. This is a grief that you can experience. Like if you're having a midlife crisis or grief triggered by a personal or global crisis. You can have this grief when you lose a job. When you lose a job, your purpose in life no longer feels, especially if you had a career and spent many years at an establishment. You can have this type of grief where you feel life is not important anymore. And it just makes you grieve about that. What people call a midlife crisis. I don't even think there's an age to that anymore. You feel me? When you're questioning about life's purposes and mortality. So that is existential grief. So enough about that part of it. So we're going to, each form of grief deserves recognition. There were 12 of them. I thought I was 14, but it was 12. Each form of grief deserves recognition and validation as it represents the deep emotional impact of loss. Understanding these variation helps foster empathy and offers pathways for healing. So you know how we do at the Love Palace. We're not just going to talk about the different types of griefs. We're going to find ways that we can cope with this grief, okay? Because that's what I need to. Coping with grief is a deeply personal process, and what works for one person might not work for another. However, there are general strategies that can help navigate the complex emotions and challenges associated with grief. Here's 14 ways that we're going to cope 14 ways to cope with grief. Okay? General strategies that can help navigate the complex emotions and challenges associated with loss. This is where the 14 is, guys. So, you know how we do it at the Love Palace. Let's go ahead and get into these coping mechanisms. Number one, acknowledge and accept your emotions. That's what we're going to do. Acknowledge and accept the. Excuse me. Oh, sorry, y'all. Allow yourself to feel range of emotions, sadness, anger, guilt, or even relief. How is this going to help? If you suppress emotions, it could prolong the grieving process while acknowledgement fosters healing. Man, it's speaking to me. Allow yourself, D, to go through sadness, anger, guilt, or even relief. Because if I suppress those emotions, it's only going to prolong my grief, D. So I'm going to acknowledge these emotions of these loss so I can foster healing. What's number two? Number two is seek support. Well, of course, yes, let's seek support. What you going to do to seek support? Lean on friends, family, or support groups to share your feelings. There's also professional help, such as therapy or counseling. These can provide valuable guidance. How does this help? Talk to others can alleviate feelings of isolation and provide support. Support groups connect you with the people who understand your experience. Yes. The way that I am doing this is up here talking about it today. I'm going through the grieving process, but I'm seeking support by talking and doing research and sharing this with my family and loved ones. And shout out to my family this weekend. They made sure that I was good, and my sisters. They gave me encouraging words as well. And many of my Facebook family and friends, I haven't really posted on there, but I'll probably put something today so I can definitely get the support of those as you go through the grief of losing someone or something. Create a routine. Maintain or establish daily habits to provide structure. This helps because a routine helps ground you, offering a sense of stability during a time of emotional upheaval. So I woke up this morning and I still did my routine. My routine is to wake up. Shout out to Blended Healing. I wake up and usually listen to her. If I wake up in time, I catch her live. If not, I play it later on. Listen to her. I do listen to affirmations, and I play affirmation music as well. That's a routine. And that helped me to help my emotional state, especially as I knew that I was going to do this live today about grief. I was like, that actually did help me. And she had a good live. Y'all make sure y'all go check it out. It was very, very, very good live. Shout out to Blenda Hill, and we'll drop her link in the chat as well. What's number 4? Express your grief. Express your grief. Find healthy outlets for your emotions, such as journaling, painting, music, or writing letters to the deceased. Creative expression allows you to process complex feelings and memorialize the person or situation you lost. So express your grief. I like how it says even writing a letter to the deceased. Never thought about that. That's a good one. This is going to help you cultivate and process those complex feelings that you have of a person or situation that you lost. Let's go to number 5. Engage in rituals. Participate in or create rituals that honor your loss, such as lighting a candle, visiting a special place, or observing cultural or religious practices. This is going to help provide a way to pay tribute and find meaning in the loss. Engage in your rituals, whatever those may be to you. I know people do candlelight visuals, or like they said, visiting a special place, or either whatever practice that your culture or religion does. And this is going to find a way that you could pay tribute for the loss as well. Number 6, take care of your physical health. Take care of your physical health. Focus on eating nutritious meals, staying hydrated, exercise, and getting adequate sleep. This is going to help your physical and emotional well being. They're closely connected. So, if you care for the body, it can help manage the physical symptoms of grief, such as fatigue and stress. Take care of your physical body. Treat your body right. Put the right nutrients in there, and don't overindulge in things that are not good for you. I'm gonna just keep it right there. I'm not gonna go into detail. Don't indulge in overthink things that are not healthy for your body, so you can manage your physical symptoms as well, such as it'll help with the physical grief and okay, everybody, the dog was barking. Just wanted to make sure I was able to hear. You guys were able to hear me. So it's going to help with your physical symptoms and along with fatigue and stress if you're taking care of your body. Practice mindfulness and relaxation. Oh, look. Number 7. Mm-hmm. Mindfulness and relaxation. You know, I should know what it's going to talk about. Engage in mindfulness practice like meditation, deep breathing, or yoga. This can help anchor you in the present moment, reducing anxiety and overwhelming thoughts. You already know what's going to mention meditation and deep breathing. So do that as well. Let's go to number 8. Allow yourself to grieve in your own way. Let me say that again. Allow yourself to grieve in your own way. What do you do? Avoid comparing your grief to others or adhering to society's expectations. Grieve in a way that feel helps oh sorry. Grieve in a way that feels right to you. Yes, grieve in the way you need to grieve. What might work for somebody else may not work for you. Everyone's grieving journey is unique, and there is no correct timeline or method. Only you know what you can do. Only you know how you need to grieve. So do that in your own way. Find meaning and purpose. Find meaning and purpose. What to do? Reflect on the positive impact the person or thing you've lost on your life. Choose engaging in activities that honor their memory, such as a charity work or creating a memorial. Finding meaning can transform grief into a source of motivation and gratitude. Find meaning and purpose in your grief. I personally, this is just me, when I lose someone, we do a year memorial after that. And I personally don't do a memorial of a person's death. This is me personally, because I like to celebrate their life. Yes, I remember them on the day they transition or when I've lost something or somebody, but I don't like to go into that deep, dark space. I say this is the day, and we usually do something like you could do a balloon release, or you can do something that they would love doing. Excuse me, that they would like to do. That's just me personally. I like to rather celebrate their birthdays, or if it is a memorial, I don't like to be sad. That's what I'm saying. I don't like to grieve. I'm usually happy. Like, let's do something that reminds us of that person. All right. Let's go to number 10. Seek professional help. So, you're going to seek professional help. What to do? If grief feels overwhelming or prolonged, you can definitely consult a therapist or a counselor trained in grief counseling. There is actually grief counselors. Professional support can provide tools to cope, especially if it's grief interfering with your daily life or leading to symptoms of depression or anxiety. Seek professional help. Like I said, there's actually grief counsel. Actually, grief counselor for the loss of things. There's different counselor, but specifically when you're going through grief, you can go find a grief counselor. So keep that in mind. Number 11, connect with spirituality or faith. Ex- Explore spiritual or religious practices such as prayer, meditation, or if you attend services. Spirituality can provide comfort, hope, and a sense of connection to something larger than yourself. Connect with your spirituality or faith, whatever that is for you, so that you can get through the grief. If it's through prayer, meditation, going to service, whatever you need to do, your spirituality to help you find comfort and hope in the sense of losing a person or something. Number 12, be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Recognize that healing takes time and it comes in waves. So celebrate small moments of progress. Self compassion reduces the pressure to move on and allows you to heal at your own pace. Be patient with yourself. I think that goes good as with doing things at your own time. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate your progress, and have self compassion so that you can move on and heal at your own pace. Number 13, spend time in nature. Yes, I can't wait. I've been doing yes. I can't wait to do this more. Take walks, go in the garden, or simply just sit outside in a peaceful setting. I need to do that more. I used to do it more often. Now I need to do that more. Nature has a calming effect on the mind and body, offering perspective and renewal. Tap into nature. Take a walk. Sit outside. Go under a tree. Hug a tree. Put your hands in the dirt. Put your hands in the water. Put your feet in the water. Whatever's in nature, I notice it really does help you calm and it helps with your grieving. Number 14, reconnect with joy. Gradually reintroduce activities that bring you happiness, such as hobbies, time with loved ones, or even travel. Finding joy doesn't diminish your loss, but it helps rebuild a life that honors it. Reconnect with the things that make you happy. Whatever hobby you have. I love going out to watch football. I love football. I love coloring. I love music. I love nature. There's a lot of things I do. I'm reconnecting with those joys to heal and get through this grieving process, okay? Finding joy is going to help me with my loss and rebuild a life that is honored. So keep this in mind. Grief is not something you get over, but it's something you learn to live with. By taking steps to cope, you can create space for healing and ultimately find a way to carry the love and memories forward. Grief is not something you get over, but it's something you learn to live with. I hope you guys enjoyed these tips of the different agreements, different griefs that we face, and also the help that you can have with grieving. I know this is helping me get through, like I said, the loss of physical people, and I've lost other things as well, personally, and not just people, excuse me, but things in life as well, relationships, jobs, all those type of things. And I'm learning to go ahead and grieve and heal. And this is my way of sharing that with you. And I hope that I will be able to help someone else as well with their grieving and to get through the grieving process. Okay. So that is that today on the subject of grief. We gon' you know what? It's time to change the vibe up real quick. I'm gonna change the vibe up real quick because I feel that after all that, we need to change the vibe up. So we gonna change it up. You know how we gonna change it up? Let me show you how we gonna change it up. Here we go. Yes, it is Sagittarius season. Y'all thought I forgot? Nope, nope, I did not forget. It is an 11-day countdown to the Queen's birthday here, but you know I'm already in birthday mode. Yay, hey, hey. Sagittarius season is in full effect. Let's go to all my Sagittarius. Y'all stay tuned because my sister Empress Sharon Rose's birthday is coming up. Y'all make sure y'all tune into her. Make sure her link gets dropped as well. So there's a couple of things I want to leave you with. I made a little something to talk about grief and just to show a little homage to the people that I have lost, okay? So, like I said, this was going to be a little longer live. So go ahead, and I hope you enjoy this as well. Here we go. Yes, I hope you guys enjoyed that. For those that have lost a loved one, a fur baby, or something, a relationship, a job, any of the ships, and you are grieving, I hope you find comfort in this live today because I am finding comfort as well. I'm gonna get through it, y'all. I'm gonna get through it. It's not gonna be easy, but I'm getting through it, okay? So peace and love to everyone. This is Daily Dose of D with the quote of the day. We lose loved ones physically, but remember, energy never dies. It just transfers. The word of the day, grief, is the natural, man, my words, y'all, an emotional response to the loss of someone close. So, as always, my show is sponsored by the network More Than Media, go ahead and tap into them as well, and all the wonderful content creators that are in the chat and that I had mentioned on this live, okay? Make sure you tap in. So, also, let me go ahead and share a final thing with you guys. You know how I do at the Love Palace. If you still stayed with me this whole time, I appreciate you all for doing that, because this one was a little bit longer than the other ones, okay? But I feel like it was worth it. So let me share this with you, okay?
Grief cannot be rushed. Grief takes its time. Everyone grieves differently. The pain of grief can be overwhelming, so we avoid it, and therefore we often prolong it. Address your grief. Know that it's there. If you experience loss or great difficulty, then more than likely big energy that needs movement and release. Numbing is not doing that. Going to drugs, excessively working, trying to forget. We have to be active. We have to journal. We have to allow tears to come. We have to give ourselves opportunities to release anger and pain. We have to reflect. We have to create space for grief without being too busy. Even if you spend 15 minutes a day, put a sad song on and allow yourself to cry. Whatever it is, be with that. Once it's done, move on. Integrate pleasure in your body, ground, use somatic resources, drink a glass of water, exercise, be around friends and laugh, then come back to your grief. It will pass, it will lessen, the intensity will lessen, but we have to move through it. It's the only way. Otherwise, we're going to repeat patterns again, and we're going to bring more relationships like that into our lives, because we need to complete the cycle of grief.
Okay, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Daily Dose of D. I am your host, aka Goddess D of Love. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to all my streaming platforms, including Instagram and TikTok. And don't forget to hit that notification button so you do not miss a Daily Dose of D or any type of episode that is coming up at the Love Palace, okay? It's free 99. So I hope this helped someone as well as it has helped me. I know this was a different type of life, but I feel a lot better. And I'm just going to breathe and take it in and keep it pushing, y'all. I hope this helped you all. Once again, this is your host, aka Goddess D of Love. Peace and love to everyone. And I will see you real soon, okay? Have a great rest of the day.